He just retires. That's it. He's done. He's out. The Eagles now have another position battle going on here with their wide receiver position. What the hell, man? Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Phillies had an off day, though Bryce Harper was busy. I don't know for sure if he was at Aaron Nola's bowling event. I don't know for sure if he was at the Phillies golf outing. It was a busy day to be a Philly for an off day. But I know that Bryce Harper helped with the PromPosal, which I'm super glad weren't a thing when this guy was in high school. You know what I'm saying? We got that to get into. And, of course, Eagles OTAs, ladies and gentlemen, going on at the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia. Boy, oh boy, I didn't think position battles were going to be that big a deal when it comes to OTAs, but the Eagles, when you really break it down, they got a few of them going on. And now when you look over the recent news, Philadelphia Eagles, this is something I've really tried to avoid. The Eagles in the offseason, they added Paris Campbell, and they added Devontae Parker. Well, Devontae Parker, 31 years old, has now decided that he wants to spend some time with his family. And by spend some time, I mean the rest of his time. And look, I don't fault a guy for that. You want to spend time with the family, you just want to call it a career and enjoy your family growing up, your kids growing up. That's a beautiful thing. Just a little surprising, considering 2 months ago he had just signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. Not even 2 months ago he just signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I thought, okay, this is nice. They got Devontae Parker. He could be a solid third option there. They got Paris Campbell, also could be a solid third option. Battle it out. I have been of the school that I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Eagles' third wide receiver when this offense is stacked. It kind of, in a way, reminds me of the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and going into that year, hey, who's going to be the Eagles' long snapper? Are they going to be ready to go with this Rick Lovato guy? Are they really ready to move on from John Dorman? Is Nick Foles really ready to be a backup quarterback again in the NFL? Like, we're looking at the backup quarterback. We're looking at the long snapper. When I took a step back and looked at a, no pun intended, bird's eye view of it, I said, oh, this is going to be a good year. If the problems that we're having are like the backup quarterback, who you really hope never plays, then he ended up playing and only winning the Eagles' first ever Super Bowl. And when you talk about the long snapper, that's not really a topic to sink your teeth into. You know what I'm saying? So the third wide receiver, when you have two Pro Bowl wide receivers, two receivers that are having back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with your team, a quarterback who has been in the MVP conversation, was up until week 12 last year, 13. In Jalen Hurts, and finished as the runner-up in the MVP. Like, your offense is stacked. Everyone knows that. Okay, Saquon Barkley being added to this offense is an embarrassment of riches. But when you talk about position groups, I'm not worried about the wide receiver group with or without Devontae Parker. Would I have liked to at least seen him go through a training camp? Would I have liked to have seen him out there on the field with the Eagles? Yeah, absolutely. But now without him, there's a couple other guys that have an opportunity to step up. We'll talk about that on the show today. Well, let's talk about another position that we're going to be looking at when it comes to the Eagles offensive line. We pretty much know the deal at center. And from what I've been reading, what I've been looking at, going into these OTAs, the Eagles were on the field yesterday. They'll be back at it again today. There'll be some media availability with players after practice as well. When it comes to the offense, and we'll get to the defense also, but what I really like is that when people are talking and really guesstimating what this offensive line is going to look like, Cam Jurgens, as most people would assume, is your center. Fine, good, great, grand. The right guard position where things get a little murky. You obviously have Tyler Steen. With Cam Jurgens moving to the center, you have Tyler Steen there at the right guard position. Now Matt Hennessy. There's some other guys you can be looking at there. We'll look at that as the show goes on today as well. We'll also be looking at the cornerback position. I mentioned that E.J. Smith of Inquirer.com did his depth chart, and he has Cooper DeJean down there, and he has Quinyon Mitchell up there. Cooper DeJean signed his rookie deal yesterday. Quinyon Mitchell looks like he's going to be starting next to Darius Slay. More and more people seeing James Bradbury being moved down the depth chart, if he's on the depth chart at all, by the time even training camp rolls around, or maybe even their next OTA session rolls around. So for a team that looks like they're pretty stacked on the offensive side of things, on the defensive side, and maybe you have one real legit position battle in the starters realm, which is at the right guard spot. Everything else is you're looking at third wide receivers, you're looking at second tight ends, and that's pretty much it. But when it comes to the defensive side of things, you could be surprised at the linebacker position. Devin White and obviously Nakobe Dean are the guys that are penciled in as your number ones, as your starters for interior linebackers. Edge rushers, for the most part, set. Corner, it could be a battle. Safety could be a battle. But right now, it certainly looks like your number one and your number two, as far as starters go. The free safety and strong safety, to go back to those old terms. You have Reed Blankenship, and now the return of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We'll look at the defensive line. We talked about Jordan Davis yesterday when it came to the slim down Jordan Davis. And we'll also talk about what the expectations can be for the rest of that defensive group. All in all, I'm excited. I just want to see this start off on the right foot for all parties involved. And when it comes to this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, it does feel extremely light compared to what we have seen in years past. I mean, you have a lot of the same three guys that were three of your four main guys last year. They're returning, but the main guy last year, Fletcher Cox, and for the very recent past here in Philadelphia, was the anchor of that D-line. No longer here. Him not being here and the Eagles not really replacing that position in the offseason makes you really want to rely on those young guys even more. But also, hey, are there any other veterans you can bring in here and help out this squad a little bit? We'll take a look at that, of course, as the rest of the OTA sessions go on. But let's start it off with this, a feel-good story. These PromPosal things, I don't know. I think some of it's really nice. I think it gives kids an opportunity to be creative. But also, I got to be thinking this. High school has a lot of pressure on kids, especially around the end of the year, where some kids are last-minute college kids. You're looking at one of them. Where they got a lot of pressure, right? They go through all that stuff. So having to come up with a PromPosal. Now, I don't know if the kids do this for the junior proms. I don't know if it's just a senior prom thing. I don't know. But now the thing is, in case you didn't know this, the big deal is kids have to ask their wannabe prom date in some grandiose fashion. They have to ask them to the prom. It's not like the good old days where you say, do you want to go to the prom with me? And then they say no, and then you ask 5 more people, right? That happened to everybody, right? No, okay. All right. So you ask this person to the prom. That used to be the way it is. Now you have to come up with some fancy thing. One of my favorites that I've seen, they did the Monty Python thing. They did the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they had the coconuts, and there's Harry, and then they did that, and there was no horse involved. It was hilarious. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, man, Miss Goosey. But anyway, Bryce Harper got involved in one of these PromPosals yesterday, and I gotta say, it's pretty fantastic. Jack Portello is this fella's name, and he was on the Fantastic Sports Show last night on Fox 29. My friend Natalie Eganoff was on there as well, and they asked Jack. No, Natalie did not get asked to the prom. But they got this young man on. And Jack, what he did was he set up Bryce Harper to do the PromPosal for him. Baller move, Jack. Here's what it looked like.
Hi, Julia.
I'm going to prom.
How's it going? Jake wants to ask you to prom, so I thought I'd help him out. You want to go to prom with him?
I want to.
So you going to prom with him?
Yes!
Awesome. There you go. You got it.
I'm ready to go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh my God.
Few things, okay? For the people on the podcast, I'll break it down for you. All right, Julia, the lovely Julia, congratulations. Jack, congratulations again. Baller move. Bryce Harper, what a guy. She hugged Bryce first. Calls him the GOAT multiple times. And then I like how Bryce is like, let's get down to brass tacks, lady. Will you go to the prom with Jack? And Jack's like, come on, will you? And Julia's like, oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Great. But here's after watching the interview last night, I just assumed that Julia lived in the same neighborhood as Bryce Harper. But here's how it went down. Jack lives in the same neighborhood as Bryce Harper. He knocked on Bryce Harper's door and said, would you do this? I assume they see each other around the neighborhood from time to time. I assume Bryce is cool with his neighbors. Jack knocks on his door, says, will you do this PromPosal for me? And Bryce is like, yeah, man, let's exchange emails. Let's set this up. And I guess it happened. It all went down yesterday. And Jack's like, yeah, we could do that. And Bryce probably thought, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. I have an off day today. Why don't I just handle this right now? So, okay, I'm thinking maybe they all live in the same neighborhood. Bryce gets in his car and follows this kid, Jack, to Julia's. They had to drive to her house, not in the same neighborhood. Bryce took the time to go with this kid, to do this kid's PromPosal and ask this girl to the prom. Bryce Harper has already taken the Phillies to a World Series. They were a win shy of going to a World Series last year. He has won an MVP already in his time here in Philadelphia. He has been the leader of this clubhouse. And now he's asking kids, now he's helping kids with their PromPosals. You can call it a stupid little story. I think it is awesome. And you talk about, he gets accused, and rightfully so, the pandering, the Fanatic shoes, right? All that stuff, his love affair with the Philly Fanatic, whatever. I love all of it. And all of that becomes a little less fun if you don't see stories like this pop up of him actually getting involved with the fan base. I love this. I think it's fantastic. Good for Bryce Harper. Good for Jack. Good for Julia. And good for Haddonfield Memorial High School. Party Planning Committee, Bryce Harper for the PromPosal. For the win. Let's get into your Philadelphia Eagles. Let's take that step. Let's take that deep dive here. I was really excited about OTAs. And when we got to the show yesterday, I had this feeling of excitement, and I'm not one that nerds out over OTAs. There's a lot of road to plow. Okay, there's a lot of fields to hoe before training camp. OTAs is just something that is a formality. I don't really try to read into it too much, but this year in particular has me very excited. And the reason why, before we get to the position battles, this is what I was able to come up with. This is why I'm excited. Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. The Eagles, even with Shane Steichen, and most recently with Brian Johnson and with Jonathan Gannon and Sean Desai, the Eagles did not have experienced coordinators. So there was a kind of wait and see. There was a kind of, well, we really don't know, so let's not jump to any conclusions. This could be great. It could be terrible. Turns out with Sean Desai, who was the most experienced of anybody before they started their first day on the job, being that he at least been a defensive coordinator before, it was an abysmal failure. Shane Steichen, not a lot of experience either. Not experience at all, as a matter of fact. And then he comes in here and he's calling plays, and in his second year, you're in the Super Bowl. And you have a quarterback that finishes second in the MVP voting. Pretty good. Not bad. Then you go into Brian Johnson, no experience. You go into Sean Desai, the 1 year of experience. This year, you have 25 years total experience in the position of coordinator and play caller between Kellen Moore, 5 years, and 20 years of Vic Fangio as a DC. That's pretty good. So the reason I'm excited is that I don't expect a big ramp up to knowing what the hell you're doing. The fact that the Eagles also are implementing more OTAs than they have, you could go up to 10, they're going to do 6. In previous years, it felt like they did next to nothing. This year, they need the extra time. They've already had rookie camp. Now they have this mini camp under their belt, or about to have it completely under their belt, with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. And these two guys, after installations, after OTAs should be able to hit the ground running when training camp starts. You don't need a ramp-up period for these two. That's the expectation for me. Just like I expect on that, September 6th, Friday night in Brazil, I expect the Eagles to be off and running, at least on the offensive side of things. Defensively speaking, it might take a little bit more time, considering the talent of this team is overwhelmingly on the offensive side of the football. Now, look, Quentin Mitchell could be a stud from go, okay? And the defensive line could be ready for to fill in without Fletcher Cox being here. And Bryce Huff could be every bit ready for this promotion that he is getting from going from the Jets to the Eagles and CD Deuce, and we go through the entire position group. But when you think about the team talent-wise, it's overwhelmingly on the offense. I think the defense is still going to be good, but I think the offense is going to be just, again, an embarrassment of riches. But I expect them, when they open up their season, to hit the ground running. There should be no, we got to get used to this, we got to get used to that. No, you're having more OTAs this year than you have in your last 2 years combined to get used to your coordinators. You have experience, you have talent. There's no excuses. I have said this phrase a lot when it comes to Jalen Hurts. No excuses for Jalen Hurts this year. When you have the entire roster, I'm not going to name it for you, when you have all these weapons at your disposal and you have an experienced play caller who has already had success and has had success with a quarterback that many people feel you're better than Dak Prescott, there's no excuses. Well, he needs a second year in the same system to be able to have No, what? The words that will live rent-free in my head from this offseason are the words from Fletcher Cox. And it was when he retired. And he talked about D'Amico Ryans when they were teammates under Chip Kelly. D'Amico Ryan said, great players are great regardless of the scheme. If you're truly a great player, whatever scheme you're in, you're going to be great in that scheme. You're going to find a way to be great in that scheme. Translation, no excuses. If you're great, be great. If you're great, nothing gets in the way of greatness. Jalen Hurts has spoils around him. You want an experienced play caller, a guy that has had success in the league? You have him. Coaches say it all the time. I got to put my players in a better position to make plays, to have success. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have put these players in a pretty nice position to have success. They got the coaching. Now it's a matter of whether or not they're going to go out there on the football field and actually have that success. But they're put in a great position here. So when I look at this OTA session, and I'm thinking, well, why am I actually really paying attention to this when before it's kind of like a thing in passing? I'm like, okay, this is good. Everyone's healthy. Great. But no, I want those progress reports. I want to know how the position groups are going. I want to know how the position battles are going. I want to know how plays are being called. I want to know how communication is going between the coordinator and Jalen Hurts, or the coordinator and Devin White or Nakobe Dean. I want to know how all that is coming together. Because there's, again, no excuses when you have this kind of experience. This is not their first rodeo for Kellen Moore or Vic Fangio. This isn't feeling things out to see what's the best way. How is the best way I can relate to these players or coach these players up? This is starting it off from jump. You got the rookie camp under your belt already. Move into these mini camps. You get these OTAs underway. And that should be a hit the ground running type of scenario here. And then on top of it all, for whatever it is, and I know it sounds extremely disrespectful of the position, head coach in the NFL. I really don't know what Nick Sirianni's role is in the whole thing. I know what his title is, but in terms of the day-to-day operations, writing practice schedules, I'm very curious. And I say that with zero snark. And it's only because of what Nick Sirianni has said all of last year, really all his time in Philadelphia as the head coach of this football team, and how there has been this dwindling responsibility. And if Kellen Moore is the end-all, be-all on the offense, then what does that really do? What's Nick Sirianni doing? Listening to the analytics department say, yeah, we're going to go for it on fourth down. Like what? What is he doing? Overall attitude? Is he more of a manager? That's kind of the way I'm looking at him. Is he a manager more than a coach? Just overseeing everything? I know the term is CEO, but I downgraded that to manager recently. So I'm curious to see what more information we get when Nick Sirianni addresses the media. When we hear from Kellen Moore and we hear from Vic Fangio about how things are going during OTAs. I'm very, very curious to see how that plays out. But as far as the position groups go, the number one that we can look at here, other than the coordinators, now, just because it was so abrupt, and literally OTAs are underway, in the same day, we get the story from Adam Schefter that Devontae Parker, at 31 years old, has decided to call it a career. When you look at the wide receiver position here for the Eagles, let's go A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You got that as the 1 and 1A, if you will. You look around the rest of this team. Paris Campbell's next up. Anais Smith, Johnny Wilson. These are all guys that you're going to be looking at to try to rise to the occasion that is now being presented, the rise to the opportunity that is now being presented to your wide receiver group here, with Devontae Parker just saying, deuces, I'm out. I'm on the record. I like Anais Smith. Like what he brings to the table. I like his versatility. I like his quickness. I would love to see a young guy like that, a rookie like that, take over and actually show you what he can do. Paris Campbell, of course, comes in here with the connection already with Nick Sirianni. We all know about that. See what he can bring to the table as well. But when it comes to seeing a young guy come up in this offense and really prove himself, it's all out there for Smith to have that opportunity in this Eagles offense. Certainly one thing I will be looking at. It's not nothing. I thought it would be nothing. I thought it would just be a nice thing to have. But now all of a sudden, with one less veteran competing for that spot, OTAs just got a little bit more interesting when it came to the wide receiver position. When it comes to the offensive line, pretty set. Pretty set. All I want out of this Eagles offensive line during this session is Cam Jurgens constantly at number one. That's it. And that is going to happen. I would say that is a pretty safe bet that Cam Jurgens is your starting center throughout OTAs. What I don't want to hear is anything along the lines, and the reporters will be allowed into practice today. So we'll get a little bit more of a beat on that. What I don't want to hear is struggling picking things up, struggling communication, anything like that, where Cam Jurgens has to bounce back at the right guard and Matt Hennessy is at center or something like that. What I want, what I'm rooting for, what I'd love to hear is, when it comes to the right guard spot, Tyler Steen taking it over. Matt Hennessy has the experience. Matt Hennessy has played at an extremely high level. His only issue has been injuries. There's a huge problem if you're talking about injuries after OTAs. So I'm not thinking that story is coming out. Okay, knock on wood. But when it comes to everything else, like in terms of picking up the offense, when it comes to the communication, when it comes to listening to your center, all that, and it also comes to youth and who could be your right guard for the foreseeable future. My money's on Tyler Steen to take over that position. You also have the versatility of a Tyler Steen that if things go haywire on the outside for whatever reason, most notably injury, he could pop out to that. You could have Matt Hennessy then come over and take over in an interior offensive line spot as well. But the way I think this is going to shape up is after today, you'll probably hear about the offensive line having, yes, Cam Jurgens at center. Let's get that out of the way. And then Tyler Steen is your starting right guard. That's the way I see this shaping up for the Philadelphia Eagles when it comes to the first OTA session. When it comes to everything else, talking about other position battles now on the defensive side of things, it's an interesting thing. The wild card in all of this is, for me, still James Bradbury. Because until he's gone, potentially with a June 1st designation, he's still your starter. That position has to be taken from him. The most glaring thing, with Quinyon Mitchell still not signed, the most glaring thing that the Eagles could do, the bright light, if you will, the biggest attention, the biggest highlight, when you look at a early estimated depth chart, and when you hear who's running with the ones defensively, The biggest name that will be looked at is James Bradberry. If James Bradberry is not out there with Darius Slay, and it's Quenyon Mitchell, for instance, that'll be a pretty telling sign. As if Howie Roseman already didn't tell us after the draft pick of Quenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean that this quarterback group needed a shakeup. As if that doesn't tell you that James Bradberry's already gone, I don't know what will. Other than seeing the first unofficial depth chart with Quenyon Mitchell running next to Darius Slay as your number 1 and number 2 starting corners, as your starting outside corners. That'll let you know, oh, James Bradberry is done for sure. Totally for sure. I know a lot of people still go back to what Howie Roseman said at the Combine. And when he was asked by Jeff McClain in the Inquirer about the status of James Bradberry, all he said was that he's under contract. That is not a lie. Howie knows what the hell he's doing. But I also think that if you just look, and this is why I think things like this are so valuable. It's one thing, it's one thing for coaches, players, front office members, Howie obviously, to address the media at a press conference. It's one thing to do that, and then to see the behind the scenes look is another thing, because you really see the intensity behind what makes them really want a pick or a player at a certain pick. Seeing how much they wanted to get Quenyon Mitchell, sure, first round pick. The fact that he was falling to them at 22 is nothing short of a miracle. And then seeing, oh my goodness gracious, we could get Cooper DeJean too. And then seeing how disappointed they were when they thought he was going to go off the board. And then seeing how excited they were when they know, oh, man, we could go up and we could get him right now. You mean to tell me they were that hot to trot on Quenyon Mitchell and that hot to trot on Cooper DeJean, and they're thinking, oh, this is great because we still have James Bradberry? No. They were thinking we can move on from James Bradberry. That's when they were so excited. So I'm expecting in the next couple of weeks here, 9 days, really, to see James Bradberry looking for a new office on a new team to maybe take his talents to the next level again. I don't know. The way he did in his first year with the Eagles and not so much last year. But that's what I'm expecting. And that is the number one telling thing coming out of practice, coming out of OTAs, is what's going to happen at the cornerback position. It's the only thing that could be a real, true tell. I mean, if you're betting on Cam Jurgens being your starting center, you're going to win that bet. You might not win a lot on the odds because it's like great, or not great to win. But when it comes to the cornerback position, that's the one that's a little bit of a dice roll as to what the Eagles are going to do. That's the only real dice roll you can look at on this team. Everything else, you talk about the safety positions, I think they're pretty locked in for now. Cooper DeJean, I think, is the guy that you might be able to buy low on and sell high on later in terms of how much he can help himself by picking up the defense, how much he can help himself. You're not going to learn how a guy hits in OTAs. That ain't going down. There's not a lot of contact going on here, if any. So, I mean, certainly not tackling. Let me make sure I paint a more accurate picture. But the guy that I'm going to be looking at the most in terms of rising stock is going to be Cooper DeJean, because they know they could use him as a corner, but I think it's locked down between Quenyon Mitchell and Darius Slay. They also know they could use him as a safety, probably in a backup role to start off, and then we'll see if he can earn some more stripes there at that position. But when it comes to the cornerback position, you're talking about 14 guys that are vying for spots, starting rookie camp, starting OTAs, and then looking to take that momentum into training camp where everything gets for real. 14 guys. And that's why when I was asked 2 weeks ago about what could go down with Cooper DeJean in the near future, I could totally see him being a safety. Because if you already have Darius Slay locked up and you already have Quenyon Mitchell here, and you don't really want to use Cooper DeJean too much in the slot, and you could use him at another position. Like, I would have him as outside corner, safety, and then slot corner. That's a big position battle going on here. And I know some people still really like Killy Ringo. I know the Eagles like Eli Ricks in the slot position. They brought back Asante Samuel for a reason. Asante Samuel, to me, I know he's become a hot button issue. Some people, why they bring him back. Asante Samuel is a good slot cornerback. He is a good nickel cornerback. My only knock on Asante Samuel is that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I know some of you blame me for making him eat Scrapple when he was on this show, on our SkyDrive program there, but don't you blame me. Being healthy, staying healthy has been more of Asante Samuel's issue than actually being talented. He is talented. It's whether or not you could rely on him to have that talent on the football field on a consistent basis. If you really want to get in the weeds here and you look at the tight end position, Grant Calcaterra still here. CJ Uzoma still here. Big Al or Big O, whatever you want to call him. EJ Jenkins and McCallum Castles as well are going to be looking at that tight end position group behind Dallas Goedert. Speaking of staying healthy, love to see Dallas Goedert stay healthy in this offense. I'd love to see him healthy. Another question I had going into this was that RPO, and we've covered this already, but the Eagles kind of tipped their hand when during rookie camp, Jalen Hurts was in the building, Saquon Barkley was in the building, and they released footage of them two practicing the RPO. Oh, Kellen Moore doesn't run the RPO. Well, Kellen Moore about to run that RPO. So that's what I'm going to be looking at when it comes to the Eagles position groups going into or now during OTAs. I look forward to hearing what some coaches and what some players have to say after practice today at the NovaCare Complex. By the way, I'm going to be at the NovaCare Complex in 3 weeks. I'll be over there. Got the NRG charity flag football game. Got to show the skills again, people. Got to show the skills again. Let's get back to your Phillies here. Also, let me know what position group you're looking at the most and what you're going to be following the most when it comes to OTAs. Hit me up in the chat or on social media and let me know what you guys are looking at as well. Want to tell you guys real quick about the Phillies because I missed the Phillies yesterday. The 20 games over 500 Philadelphia Phillies. They were off yesterday. The Braves had a doubleheader that they split. The Braves blew a 5-run lead against San Diego Padres in their first game, and then they won the second game 3-0. So as of right now, when you look at the standings in the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies, wait, that can't be right. Oh, they split. That's right. Yeah, they stay 5 games out. The Braves stay 5 games behind the Phillies there in the NL East. For those watching the standings in May, such as myself. But yesterday was interesting because after I was thinking about OTAs, I flipped to the Phillies and just them having an off day. And I think one of the most intriguing things about this Phillies team, and I actually got onto this with the Sully squad. There, Sean Kilrain. Appreciate you guys having me on yesterday. The most intriguing thing about this Phillies team is how everybody kind of tags the next guy in. And it's not in necessarily the case of injury. Like Trey Turner, you could look at and say, wow, Edmundo Sosa's really stepped up. Bryson Stott's really stepped up. It's not due to injury. It almost seems like when one guy cools off, another guy heats up. And Edmundo Sosa is probably the best example of that for what he's been able to do for this Phillies team so far this season. And then right after that, the latest example of that is Cody Clemens. The thing that's the most consistent is the pitching. Individually in the lineup, you could probably look at Alec Boehm, who's hitting right now like an MVP. But on the rotation side of things, that's been the most amazing thing, is that Zach Wheeler just hands it off to Aaron Nola, who hands it off to Ranger Suarez, who then hands it off to Christopher Sanchez, who even if he has horrendous stuff, goes from, I described it the other day as, he looks like, Christopher Sanchez this year looks like a guy who in the same start, in the same inning, Goes from a guy that looks like he should be in a mop-up role only, if a big leaguer at all, to Sandy Koufax. He goes like that in the same inning. And the best example of that is the inning he had where he only allowed one run somehow magically against the Mets, where they went out, massaged his hand, and then he struck out 3 batters on 9 pitches. Okay. However that works, but all right. And then he hands it over to either Spencer Turnbull or now Taijuan Walker. Like just one guy after another, just mowing people down. It really is incredible. And then you look at the offensive side of things with this team, and as I said, Alec Boehm's been your most consistent guy. You have Kyle Schwarber, who's kind of cooled off, but yet still working 3 walks in the game, 7 walks over a 2-game span. That's ridiculous. But the most intriguing thing is that somebody else is ready to go. Whit Merrifield, ice cold. You all of a sudden have Brandon Marsh getting you some hits. Nick Castellanos, ice cold, a 3-hit game. Like, I know baseball's a funny game to implement that tired cliche, but when it comes to this particular Philadelphia Phillies team, guys get red hot, cool off. Another guy gets red hot, cools off. Another guy gets red hot. It's just everybody on this team is finding a way to contribute in big moments. And the most recent example of that is Cody Clemens. From what I was reading yesterday, a couple stories on Trey Turner, and the way it goes down right now with Trey Turner is that the Phillies are expecting him to be back within the next week and a half, to at least go on the road trip. You could look at Trey Turner back for the Colorado road trip. So that's a 6-game road trip. That would put it a little less than 4 weeks. So he's going to make that road trip with the team. So if he's going to make the road trip, I'm going to go ahead and assume he's going to play in one of those 6 games. My guess would be San Francisco. They have this 3-game series with the Texans. Geez, the Texans. The Texas Rangers. Then they have a 3-game series in Colorado and a 3-game series in San Francisco against the Giants before coming back home to face the dreaded St. Louis Cardinals. My guess is that Trey Turner plays there in San Francisco. So you have, let's say, 6 games, 3 against the Rangers in South Philly, then 3 in Colorado. Let's just call it like that. 6 more games for Cody Clemens to show you that he can still help you at the major league level. Either way, one of the things the Phillies do need, if you were to fast forward the season to the trade deadline, one of the things they need is a bat off the bench. Can Cody Clemens be that bat off the bench? He'll get enough reps with the way the Phillies have been mixing things up in the infield, with maybe days off for Bryce Harper, days off for Kyle Schwarber. There'll be opportunities for maybe Edmundo Sosa to play third. Maybe Bryson Stott gets it off. Cody Clemens gets to start at second. Things like that, where you can get enough at bats for Cody Clemens. And if he is settling into a role as a bat off the bench, maybe he's the guy that is the Whit Merrifield. At least what Whit Merrifield was supposed to be. Whit Merrifield, let's just call it what it is, has been a big disappointment this season, unfortunately. And when it comes to what he's done so far recently, you're talking about a guy who's played in 26 of their games. He's got 85 at bats, and he's batting 188. That's not what you went out and signed as a free agent. No, everyone was excited at the Whit. I'm getting, and I said this before, but I actually kind of meant it as a compliment. Now I don't mean it as a compliment. Michael Young, remember that acquisition? The Michael Young acquisition from the Rangers, as a matter of fact? That didn't work out so great. Didn't work out so great at all. And Whit Merrifield kind of gave me Michael Young vibes, like a speedier Michael Young. It hasn't been good. So the Phillies are still in need of that bat off the bench. Cody Clemens, as we pointed out yesterday, he has more games appearing as a pitcher than he has as an outfielder, which is hilarious. So that is kind of fascinating to me. So I don't think they're going to be looking at him to be a corner outfield guy. But just in terms of a guy that could be a utility infielder, he can play first. He can certainly play second. But most importantly, he could be a pinch hitter for you. That seems to not really rattle Cody Clemens' cage. And plus, God forbid, again, knock on wood, something else happens, somebody else goes down. Cody Clemens is right there to take over as well. He's got 6 games in the very near future here, the next 6 games, to really make that decision difficult for the Phillies. As of right now, if you had to make the decision right now, he absolutely stays at the major league level. No question about it. And the Phillies might even be flirting with the release of a Whit Merrifield. 188. I loved the gusto and the confidence when the Phillies brought him in spring training. And he said, my job is going to be to make Rob Thompson think he can give me even more at-bats. Rob Thompson told him, hey, you're going to get your at-bats. You're going to get your opportunities. And Whit Merrifield's response to that was, if you remember, Whit Merrifield's response to that was, well, it's going to be my job then to make sure I can give you confidence in giving me even more at-bats, this Phillies team. But yeah, really missed the Phillies yesterday, man. Really missed them. Before we get to our chat check, let me tell you about the great people at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Take advantage of all MyBookie has to offer. Oh, my goodness gracious. You want to bet on baseball? You want to bet on the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs? You want to bet on anything? MyBookie has got you covered. Use promo code Farzy for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus when you sign up an account at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And if betting on sports ain't your thing, you can bet on the world of television. You can bet on the world of politics. Just about anything at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. So download the app, create an account, and use promo code Farzy on MyBookie and get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. How about the Game Time app? Phillies, 3 games here against the Texas Rangers. You want to go to the game? Download the Game Time app to your phone. You want to save $20? Use promo code Farzy when you create an account on the Game Time app. And you get $20 off your first purchase when you use promo code Farzy on the Game Time app. They also have flash ticket deals, last-minute ticket deals. You can even view a panoramic view of your seat before you buy it so you know exactly what you're getting at old CBP or wherever you're getting your ticket. Maybe you're going out to Colorado. Game Time app, baby. Maybe you're going to St. Louis. No, St. Louis is here. Maybe you're going to, what was the other game I said? The 3 games in Colorado. San Francisco. San Francisco's a fun town. Game Time app. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase. And don't forget about the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less money elsewhere, Game Time will credit your account 110% of the difference. How about that? So download the Game Time app. Use promo code FARS and get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you guys are. First off, guys, hey, I'm married. All right. No PromPosals. Nobody asked me to do their prom. The answer is no. Okay. Sorry. Heartbreaker. All right. Actually, you know what? In my early radio days, file this under things we wouldn't do today. We actually, how did we do this? Was he a prize? 3 proms. 3 proms. We had an intern, same intern. It was Lids, our intern Lids. We sent Lids to the prom with a dad called up. This happened on 3 separate occasions. A dad would call up and we would offer our intern as a date for their daughter's prom. Definitely things we wouldn't do today. But one time, God, what was it? Sean Fertel. Oh man, Sean Fertel was our one intern that we did. We sent him to the prom with one nice lady, and the second was Lids. Yeah, he went to 2 proms. Yeah, he was like a freshman in college, and we sent him to the prom with a senior in high school. That's not too weird, but that's not weird at all. And that was wow. The dads would call up, and I remember thinking, like, are the daughters embarrassed? But then the daughters were big sports fans, and they just were happy to be on the radio. That wasn't a PromPosal, but that's kind of your dad doing the PromPosal of a total stranger over the air. What a time. What a time. All right, let's get to you fine people. Sean Gillespie, what's going on there? Good morning, IBH. Good morning, April. Good morning, April. Sean Kilrain. Kevin. Sean, thanks again. Appreciate you. Ooh, Travis, I like this. I vote Devin White, most team tackles, DeJohn at nickel, with most team interceptions. Lock it in now. Bet Travis. I love everything. Love it all. Trevor Keegan is my pick to get some playing time. They compared him to Taylor Lewan. All right, at Michigan. As well, a Michigan player as well. There you go. I'm dying that she hugged Bryce first. April, that is amazing, right? I mean, how would if you're Julia, right? That was the young lady's name. You know what would have out ballered the baller move? If she would have been like, well, actually, Tyrese Maxey was here to ask me for Pete, and I said yes to Pete, so I'm going with Pete. But thanks, Bryce. Nice to meet you. That would have been great. She's a big fan of the Cure Auto Insurance commercials. Imagine this girl wasn't a Phillies fan and said no. I think the what do you call it? The deck was rigged. It's a rigged deck, baby. She's a Mets fan. It wasn't happening. That's funny. Sean Gillespie, who wouldn't hug Bryce first, though? I'd hug him before most family members. It's a good point. April, solid point. Haddonfield. Okay, now the house makes sense, right? That is a beautiful house. You know what? This is how, in my idiot brain, this is how my mind works. I'm just going to show the house one more time. Hold on. Okay, I don't know what those are. Slab stones, limestone. I don't know what it is, but they have the arch going over the doorway, right? Here's how my idiot brain works. This is where my mind went when I saw that, even though it actually looks nothing like it, but it's what it made me think. Going to the rich girl's house when you're the poor kid. And I'm not saying I was poor, but I'm just saying, like Karate Kid. When Daniel LaRusso goes to the lady's house, what was her name? Jen? I don't even remember her name. The actress was Elizabeth Shue, but I forget her name. Was it Jenny? I don't remember. But he's like the poor kid, right? And he knocks on the door of the rich house and he breaks the family's brick on the front porch. That's what it reminds me of. I told you I'm an idiot. Anyway, that's what it kind of reminded me of. Where are we at here? Haddonfield. My favorite part of IBH is when Bryce stock still rising. Hell yeah. My favorite part was when Bryce was like, let's get down to brass tacks, lady. Are you going with their prom or not? Because she doesn't give an answer. She's just in the oh my God phase. High hopes for the Eagles, says Mihai Sanchez. What's up, Mihai Sanchez? Bryce is a superstar on and off the field. Hell yeah. MC, what it do? CZ, what's going on? Good morning, all. Good morning, CZ. All he can call is the tush push. And this is on Nick Sirianni now. Joseph Nada, 6'3", 217, or Paris Campbell gets the spot, or Anais Smith is the dark horse to get it. Yeah, the one thing they don't really have is size. Like Smitty, 6 foot, 6'1". AJ Brown, about 6 foot. They don't have like that 6'3" guy, 6'4" guy. So that's where I do like versatility in that. I think Nada's got a shot. Sean, I like that. Kilpie. Jordan Davis reminds me of Zion. Oh, okay. Chased down a semi-mobile quarterback last year. I forgot who. Had to do a running. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember either. Had the quarterback running for his life out of bounds. Imagine now he's slim. I still got that picture. Skinny Jordan Davis. Didn't know Asante Samuel still plays for us. What? Asante Samuel is no. Wait, did I say Asante Samuel? Did I say Asante Samuel instead of Avonte Maddox? I'm a big dumb idiot, folks. I'm a big dumb idiot. Good Lord. Did I say it multiple times like a big fat idiot? Oh, my God. Thank you for at least being able to translate my dumbness. IBH, I really see DeJean challenging for the slot nickel position. Here's the thing. I legit think Cooper DeJean is a legit candidate for the number one starting spot, a legit candidate for a number one safety spot, and a legit candidate for a number one nickel. Like, I think that he's that versatile. Cody Clemens is hot. Still faster than Bradbury. That's funny. He's only 43. Oh, man. Kilpie. Reds, Brewers, and Dodgers going to be real competition at the end. Yeah. Look, the Phillies have to play who's on their schedule, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that you don't need to look far in the past in Philadelphia sports to be like, well, who have they played? Like, I get that argument. It doesn't really say a lot because I think anybody who follows it, even a casual understands that the Phillies have the easiest schedule in baseball to start things off. But then, if you look at okay, so what ultimately people are going to be paying attention to? The real schedule, the real playoff push. So you're looking at August and September. Okay, to start off August, you have Seattle for a 3-game series, you have LA for a 3-game series, and then you have the Diamondbacks for a 4-game series. That's your first 2 weeks of August. Okay? So all those games, by the way, in Seattle for 3, in Arizona for 4. And then you come home and you face the Marlins and what's called them, the Senators. Wow. The Nationals. And then you have the Braves for a 3-game series in August. You have the Braves again at the end of August for a 4-game series. Those are at home. 2 more games with Toronto north of the border. Brewers, Cubs. The last 2 months of the season are going to be the put up or shut up kind of moments. The Twins are in July right after you have the Pirates. Then you have the Twins, Yankees. Yeah, it's after the All-Star break. That's what you call push coming to shove. Oh, wow. The scrapple is still affecting Farzi, too. That's true. Utility guys in a bat off the bench is key. A guy that is serviceable at many positions and is a decent bat pinch hitter for situational moments, or if another player is going down. Yeah. Barry 81. That crossed my mind. It's a good question though. The Phillies do you think the Phillies could carry one less arm in the bullpen with the way our starters are doing? This would be an option to keep Cody Clemens. You're absolutely right. I just don't think they throw a guy out of the bullpen. Jose Ruiz has pitched well, I think, for the most part. His last appearance, not exactly great, but I also think that they were up 11-3, and guys in the field were kind of taking it easy. That would be the one odd man out potentially, but I don't think that is something that they want to do. I think they would still want to keep as many. You're right. It crossed my mind because you have so many starters that are doing great and pitching 6 innings, 7 innings, 8 innings, complete games, 1 complete game. So that's great, but I don't think they're going to cost themselves a bullpen. If you're asking me, I would do it. I would absolutely do it. If it means waiting a little bit longer for Whit Merrifield to get his bearings, keeping Cody Clemens up here, I would cost them a bullpen arm. Kamooch. What's up, Anthony? What's going on, buddy? Mark. Jason A. Can't wait for football. Sean Kilrain, yes, you did. Oh, I'm aware now. Asante Samuel. Miss Scoozy. Jim West. Now we know why Jordan Davis slimmed down. He's playing two ways this year with the Parkers. Jordan Davis now a wide receiver. Sign me up. Too funny. My microscopes are on Huff and Nolan Smith, mainly without them doing well this year. We will be in trouble. I have next to no expectations for Nolan Smith. I really got to see. For me to really believe in Nolan Smith, I gotta really see something this year, and I'm not going to see that in training camp. I'm not going to see that in OTAs. I'm only going to see that when I see him play football, which in a preseason game, and then the regular season. Bryce Harper is another guy that, now it's time for the promotion. Farzy, there's no playoff push. The Phillies are home free by playing this soft schedule for such a long time. That's the main point. Thank you, Babs. Yeah, it gives you a nice cushion. To be 5 games up on the Braves right now is a pretty nice thing. To stay 20 games over 500 is pretty difficult. To have these arms pitching as great as they are, it's pretty difficult. It's for the bats. For your ERA to be as good as it is, like as a team now, what the heck is it? For the ERA to be as good and to be leading the league in runs is also pretty fantastic. All right, so the Phillies are third in batting average, team batting average on the Astros and the Dodgers. 258 as a team. They have the 4th best on earned run average in all of baseball. They have driven in the 2nd most runs right after the Dodgers. Dodgers at 251. Phillies at 243. Phillies are 5th in baseball in hits. They're 1st in strikeouts. This pitching staff has struck out 445 batters. That's pretty damn good. And they're dead even with the Seattle Mariners in quality starts with 28. That's a nice start to the season. Crowley, I'm with you. Yeah, Padres are not good. Yeah. Hey, they played the Braves very well. But yeah. Soft schedule my ass. All right, there you go. Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcar. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for telling me I said Asante Samuel. That's bonkers. And yeah, wait, hold on. Somebody got me on something else too. IBH, Washington Senators. Yeah, I don't know why. I haven't had Scrapple in ages. Anyway. Phillies are back at it tonight, 6:40 start time when they start their 3-game series with the Texas Rangers. Rangers Suarez on the hill tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be going against John Gray. John Gray, right-handed pitcher. 2-1 of the season, 2.08 ERA. Suarez leading the league with an 8-0 record, and he's got a 1.37 ERA. And I'm pretty sure that's still 3rd. While I have the stats, I might as well just go right back to it. Still 3rd in the 2nd now in the National League. Javier Assad got hit a little bit. His ERA went up to 1.49. Ranger Suarez 1.37, and come on, Shota Imanaga is still at 0.08 or 0.84. That's pretty damn good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll let you hear from the players and the coaches. Players are supposed to address the media today after practice, I believe. So we'll have some sound for you guys tomorrow on that. And we'll also react to the Phillies starting off this 3-game series with the Rangers, with Ranger on the mound tonight. Also, don't forget, like and subscribe to the Farzy Show. Like and subscribe to the Jacob Media YouTube channel. And like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel as well. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Well, I'll be giving your Phillies postcast after the game tonight. Instant reaction. And hopefully the Phillies opening up this series with the Rangers with a win. And Ranger Suarez getting his 9th win. And lowering his ERA to, 122. Can we do that? I don't know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My thanks to Asante Samuel for being part of the show involuntarily and all that. Appreciate you guys. See you guys tomorrow and see you tonight as well on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. See you then. Bye.